Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Inner Circle podcast where real estate meets real life, hosted by yours truly, your homegirl, Jillian. We're coming to you live on intellectualradio.com, their YouTube channel, and all of my social media platforms. And if you missed the live show today, no worries. The replay will be available anytime on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Facebook, or Instagram. So now listen, today's show is one you didn't even know you needed, right? April is Financial Literacy Month, and if there's ever been a time to get real about money, mindset mastery, the time is right now. So you already know around here, we're not just about closing deals in terms of real estate. So we're about building wealth, creating legacy, and changing the narrative around money for good. And that's why I'm so excited to have today's guest, Pauline Lewis Walker, owner and CEO of Integrity Plus Financial Coaching, that's here with us this morning. So we're talking about the real reasons behind financial instability, the mindset traps, the money mistakes and habits that hold people back, and most importantly, how to flip the script and take control of your financial future. So if you're tired or feeling stuck or overwhelmed or just ready to move in a different direction with your money, this episode is for you. Call in live at 708-223-8953 and join the conversation. I want everybody to grab their coffee, their tea, or a mimosa, because everybody knows that on Saturdays, I normally like brunch, Saturday or Sunday, so I'm a mimosa
You're a brunch girl. Okay.
I'm a brunch girl. When we talk about money, we'll get into that brunch and money. So,
Okay.
so I want everybody to get comfortable and let's get into it. So, Pauline, before we get started, and I'll have you do your intro, I like to do an icebreaker question. So, when we think about money, so what's one decision you made in your 20s that now makes you laugh or cringe?
So you want to start right up,
Yes.
just embarrassing me.
Not embarrassing you. I want you to tell the people how you got to be the expert that you are today.
Okay. Well, I am all about transparency. So I can't lose it. Keep talking. I can't not tell you my issues and then expect everybody to be kind of open with me. So here it is.
That.
When I was in my early 20s, I did not know about money at all. Like many folks, right? I didn't know about credit. I didn't know about financing. I didn't know about saving, just nothing, nothing. So I believed, and I didn't read this anywhere. Nobody told me this, but in my mind, I believed that if you missed a payment on, say, your credit card, if you made a double payment, the next, don't look at me like that.
I'm
Joe.
sorry.
Don't look at me like that.
That was judgment,
Yeah,
and I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Listen, but we do
Don't
not judge. I thought if you made a double payment the following month, that would not impact your credit. They go, okay, she didn't make that payment last month, but she covered it for the second month. Honest to goodness, I thought that. That is why financial literacy is so important.
Absolutely.
So that's my shame.
That's your shame.
That's my shame.
But I appreciate that. And it probably is a lot of individuals in their 20s, even today, with us. And not to say that was a long time ago. I'm trying to watch my words here. But I'm just saying, like, you know, you would, in 2025, I'm sure there are still young adults that are thinking that same way because they just don't know. And we'll get into talking about generational conversations or mindsets around money and where that kind of derived from. But that was good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. So tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about your background, and then we'll get to our conversation about just money mindset and the 7 pitfalls.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I have been in mortgage finance for about 30 years. Oh, you were talking about not dating, but yeah, 30 years. I started out in collections. So I was the person on the other end calling, trying to get folks to pay their mortgage and bring it up to date. I transitioned into underwriting. So I became a mortgage underwriter. And I really enjoyed that because it kind of lines up with what I do today, in that I was able to approve or decision loans to make folks, allow them to get into their first home or refinance so that they can have money out of their home. So that was a great position. I really enjoyed that. And a lot of what I bring to what I do today, I got from that role. Then I became an auditor. So I was auditing the decisions from the underwriter. And then I transitioned into management. And I've spent the last decade or so as an assistant vice president in lending in both Wells Fargo and PNC.
Nice.
And now, yay, over the past year, I've started Integrity Plus Financial Coaching, where I'm really living out my purpose and helping folks get on track with their finances around credit repair, debt demolition, and budgeting.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then one other thing I want you to touch on.
Bring it up.
She wrote an awesome book. So I'll share this when we do the repost of the show today. I'll include the book information and how people can purchase it from you.
Sure.
But it is Your Path to Better Finances, and this was written
July. I released it July 2024.
Nice. So she is an author as well.
Yes.
We're going to add that to her accolades as well. So let's get into talking about the root of the problem with money, right? And I know the mindset, how we think about money is, to me, the first root cause of how we get ourselves into, or how we build poor financial habits or get ourselves into financial trouble that we're then trying to correct and get out of, right? So we can go and buy a house, get a car. Although to me, getting a car is easier than buying a house,
Sure.
but getting a car doesn't always have to be the best, or is not always the best first financial thing that you should go and do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about money mindset. So how do the beliefs we grow up around money show up in our adult lives?
My goodness, in every aspect. The way that we saw our parents and our parents' parents, our grandparents, deal with money, whether we believe it or not, that's ingrained in us. So if we came from a family where we were always struggling, robbing Peter to pay Paul, if the conversations in the house about money were negative, they were always about the lack of money, whether you know it or not, honestly, that is what you've carried into adulthood, and that's how you manage your money. On the other side of that, and people don't talk about this, if you are someone whose parents gave you everything, right? Everything that you wanted, they provided for you. You didn't have to, worry about anything. There was no lack, because you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. You just see, hey, I want it, I got it.
Money is coming.
Money,
right?
the
but
money
how did
coming.
they get it?
But
how did they manage?
And
how does it manage to keep coming?
Exactly. There's no conversation about that. So then, instead of going into adulthood with a lack mentality, you go into adulthood thinking like, hey, everything I want, I should get, regardless of what the sacrifice is. And you don't know how to manage that. So either way, either side of the spectrum can be problematic when you become an adult.
And so and we kind of touched on this. She and I were having some pre-conversation about generational money trauma, right? Mm-hmm. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but even seeing your parents or grandparents or whoever raised you, if a struggle, and how to go about getting money or how to mismanaging money, right? Mm-hmm. So that generational trauma, and even healing from it, the healing from it is learning better to me, right? Yes. Or learning how to manage your money. But a lot of, and in our community, financial generational trauma is a thing.
Say that.
Yeah, yes. It is a thing.
Absolutely, it is. And trauma is an injury, right? Mm-hmm. You are injured by the things that you've seen. And just like if you are getting over any other addiction, alcohol, food, whatever it is, the first step is recognizing that there's an issue, recognizing that the way that you were taught about money is not the correct way. Mm-hmm. It is not the way you should think about that. So it's all about changing your mindset and the relationship you have with money. Mm-hmm. Now, just a little background about me. I grew up relatively poor. So my entire thinking was about getting more money, keeping money. And I was always tying money to what I thought about myself, mm-hmm. right? So if I finally got money, so when I started making, a few coins, I said, okay, I didn't have all of these nice things when I was younger, so now I'm going to ball out. I got a good job, and so I'm going to get all the shoes, all the purses, all the things, right? Not realizing that getting all the things, because I was working out of that trauma, was a detriment to me. Because before I knew it, I was in credit card debt. So that's why when clients come to me, I can hold their hand because I've been there. I know the pain, I know the trauma, and how it reflects in things that you do that you should not do.
So no one around in your family, friends talk to you about money?
No one knew.
So when you, because I know you mentioned in the beginning as our icebreaker question about your thought process in not paying your credit card this month, but double
My
payments.
shame.
So what was it? You getting into financial trouble that helped change your mindset? Was it you being in the financial industry? What is it that said, okay, Pauline, I have to start thinking about my money and money in general, not my money, but even just money in
Oh
general?
yeah. Oh yeah. So oddly enough, because God knew what he was doing, before I got into the industry, I got into trouble because when you're on college campuses,
The credit cards,
the credit cards, the
companies,
credit
yes,
card
yep.
companies, they have booths set up, you guys know. And even when you go into the stores, there you want to try this, you get 10% off your first purchase. That sounds great. So you get those credit cards, not realizing that, you can party on with the cards, but then you have to pay them at some point, and you have to pay them on time, and the fees can add up, and there's interest. I didn't know anything about that. So yes, I got in horrible trouble with my credit and realized even at that young age I needed help. So back when people went to libraries, I went to a library and did my own research. Again, this is a pre-financial career, and learned everything that I could about getting my money right, getting my credit right, because my credit was ruined because I couldn't at one point pay for those cards. So it was a lot of self-help. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching young people and even middle-aged and older people how to manage their money so they don't have to suffer like I did.
Have you always been someone to share these resources? I know you built a business now around it, and I'm sure being in the financial industry, you've shared different things that you've seen from the underwriting perspective, the auditing perspective. But when you were younger, because we are the Inner Circle podcast, in your inner circle, as you were self teaching yourself about finances, credit, money, were you sharing with your circle what you were learning? Because I know you weren't the only one.
I was not.
Oftentimes, when we're in our 20s or even early 30s, a lot of our friends are going through the same things. Now, we might not be as open to talking to each other about, yeah, I'm late on my credit card bills, or oh, I'm behind on my car note.
But there will be signs.
You're right. There would be signs.
Uh-huh.
So were you sharing the tips, or as you started to change, were you sharing those things with your inner circle, or were they asking you because they started to see the changes of the signs?
So I have to say, in my 20s, you're hustling in your 20s. So as I was learning things, while I was internalizing all of those things, I did not vocally share. Although that book that I released last year was not my very first attempt at writing a book. I did write kind of a little pamphlet about repairing your credit. So I wanted to get the information that I learned out to the masses. I just didn't have the means as I do now. So that was a start. And that was in my 20s. But I will tell you, Jill, and you know this, when people think you know a little bit of something, girl, they're on your phone. If they're buying something, or if they, run into trouble, how do you do this? And I was always open to share that, because I think that's why God allows you to go through certain things, so that you can then learn the lesson and then share that lesson. It's not just for you, right? People have to realize that. So the other thing I did quite often, and my husband, he's here, and he will tell you, when I started to have kids, the first thing I did was, my kids went to a private school. And in private school, they're a little lax about substitute teachers. So they would ask me to substitute teach sometime.
I substitute teach as well from time to time, so I get it.
So I would go in, and I did 8-year-olds. How old were you?
I'm high school. I do high school from
you
every occasion. Yeah, I know.
You win, because that's a whole different animal. But I would do 8, 9-year-olds. And one of the things that I did, I actually put together a little handout, and it was around dinosaurs, teaching them about the basics of money.
Nice.
They didn't ask me. Jill, nobody asked me to do this, but I did it because I thought it would help. And the feedback was good from the little 8 and 9-year-olds and their parents, so I appreciated that. And as they got older, I always spoke to my children about it. And then the last thing I did that was kind of off the books and a little off the rails is that a few years ago, it was actually before COVID, so it's been more than a few years ago, when my son was in his teens, I had invited him, other family members that were under 20, to come to my basement. And I put together, I'm so extra. I put together a little PowerPoint. Well, I was just laughing. I put together a little PowerPoint presentation teaching them about saving money and credit pitfalls. So to answer your question, yes, I did as much as I could and more now with the business to disseminate the information that I learned.
But that's what we talk about financial literacy,
Yeah.
right? So you started in your household, you started in your community,
Yes.
right? So even doing it at the schools. And I don't know how the school felt about that. Luckily, you were at a school where they were okay and the parents were okay with it. But that's, to me, is starting financial literacy. And that really wasn't a term that I started hearing really honestly until like probably the last 10 to 15 years, where it's been pushed more financial literacy in our community and the lack thereof. So I guess in your work, where do you think most people's financial education really drops off? Do you think, I know we talked about you doing it for 8, 9-year-olds, you doing it for your teenagers. So where do you think it falls off for us? As not even in our community, but just, the world as a whole, or for those that struggle, where does it drop off?
People are not discussing financial literacy early enough. That's the first issue, right? I'm excited to hear that the Chicago public school system has adopted a financial literacy course that is a requirement. They've done it under their social sciences umbrella. So now I believe it's 15 credit hours for high school. You may know more about this, high school students. And I am ecstatic that that is happening, but that is only the first step. We need to start having conversations with our young people about financial literacy. It really is important. And not just, here, you save this, here's a budget. There are different levels and components that go into knowing about finances that we really need to teach. Secondly, it's important that older people share amongst, as you mentioned, amongst yourselves. And don't be afraid, because I think when we get to be a big age, we think we should know these things, so we don't ask the questions.
And people don't tell their story. So not to even cut you off, but I'm just, even how you shared, as we started the show, your story. At our big age, we are afraid to be vulnerable and share our pitfalls. Vulnerable. But a lot of times when you are vulnerable and talk about your mistakes with money, people in the room with you have been through the same exact thing. Raising their hand. Absolutely. And we don't realize the more open and honest we are with each other, how we can help each other.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And do not be afraid to ask for help.
Correct.
Do not, whether it's coming to someone like you for credit repair, coming to me about getting your finances together. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Nobody knows everything.
Right.
So don't drown in debt and be unhappy and not live the life that God wants you to live because you're afraid to say, hey, I'm a little jacked up. I need some help.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I love that you mentioned CPS. That is something I did read recently. I saw it somewhere that they were starting to implement that. I think colleges, although, they offer finance courses, but it's not personal finances, right? And that, where we talked about the credit card debt, a lot of our debt starts in college, not only from credit card debt, from loans and things. A lot of kids get student loans and don't know what they signed up for. We just know we have to go to school.
Right.
So, just even understanding, yes, I'm going to school. Yes, I'm taking these loans out. Having a plan. No one talks to you about that in college. What your plan is. Yes, you need to get a job. I know, the job market for everyone coming out of college, is not everyone that doesn't get a job right away. But how am I going to pay for these loans that I had to take out?
Right.
Because I had to go to school and get a degree, because the world says get a degree.
That's what they say
in order to get a job.
Right.
Right. So it's this cycle, but they're not necessarily teaching you about debt, how to manage your debt.
Yep.
And so all of that. So I think the school system is a good foundation to start. So I'm glad CPS, and I'm sure other schools across the country are starting to implement those things. But I'm glad to hear that they're doing that.
And when we're talking about conversations that we have with folks about money, growing up, all folks tell you, your parents will tell you, go to school and get a good job and make good money. Nobody talks about what to do with the money when you make it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where that savings and budgeting. I know we'll talk about budgeting a little bit later, but that's where budgeting comes in. And some people don't understand what that means.
They do not.
And budgeting for everybody is different too, right?
It is. Oh, I'm so glad you said
Yeah,
that.
it's different, and it depends on your goals.
That's right.
Right.
That's
so
right.
goal setting to me and budgeting have to be in alignment.
Yes.
Yep. So, being able to understand that. Because everybody thinks, oh, savings. But what are you saving for? And what's your plan for this savings?
Yes.
Right.
Did you read my book already? Did you read it?
No, but
already?
I'm going to. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. So what's one simple financial concept that you think, everyone should know no matter their age or income? What's just one simple?
It's
out of the financial literacy.
Yeah. If you take anything away, you need to take away the fact that saving and budgeting is the cornerstone of financial health, right? If you can discipline yourself, because saving is a discipline. It's not pretty, it's not safe, it's not sexy. The answer to this question is not, but you have to be disciplined in your saving, and you have to be disciplined with your budgeting. And people don't like that. Like, I don't want to do that.
Absolutely. Well, we just talked about savings or the spending and the world that we live in. Everybody wants what's new. We are in a society. We're all on social media, and social media is a trap.
Oh my gosh.
Think of all the things that come up in our feeds for us to buy, right? Yes. Our phones are listening. So stuff is popping up. So we're in a time now where spending I don't want to say it's accessible. That's not the right word, but I'm like, it's in your face. It's almost like it's subconsciously there because of what we're looking at.
Yes.
So save it, and nothing is coming up on my phone the same savings.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So So when we talk about discipline and budgeting, it's I think that word discipline, because let's be honest, discipline, it can also mean the gym and working out. It's hard for us to be consistent and do that. So when it comes with our savings, being disciplined is so hard for people because all they think of is, oh, I can't touch it, I can't access it, and I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, they don't realize that budgeting, first of all, having a budget is not like being on a diet. And I equate those two quite a bit when I'm trying to make my points with my clients. Dieting is something that you do until you reach a goal, right? Budgeting is something you do for life. You should always have a budget. Now, that budget is not stagnant. It's not going to look the same, today as it does in 10 years, because you will hopefully have grown. But you should always have a platform or foundation of where your money is going, what it's doing, how it's working for you. And you need to know that not just that you're paying it, you have enough money coming in to cover your debt, right? That's kind of the mindset that many people have. I'm good. I have enough. I'm not past due. I have enough. But it's more than that. As you mentioned, it's about creating goals that are attainable and folding those goals into your budget and maintaining that budget throughout your life. It's a roadmap to financial security.
Do you feel like budgeting also is you holding up the mirror to yourself and looking at what I'm doing and what I'm not doing?
It is. It is. I heard somebody say that if you want to know where your passion is or where your heart is, look at your bank statement and see what you've spent on. If everything is, and I don't know this, I'm going from what I hear. The hookah bar. Did I say it right?
Yeah, the hookah bar.
Thank you.
The hookah bar.
I don't know. I'm a grandma. I don't know. You're getting crab legs every week and
brunch.
Well, I like a brunch.
Okay, I like a brunch too. That's what
Occasionally.
Okay.
You can put
occasionally,
the brunch.
yes.
You
okay.
can put the brunch in your budget. In your budget. So if you're looking, that mirror that you're holding up, you look at that and then you compare it to your values.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to you? And if those two things don't have any congruency, if they're not lining up, then you have a problem and you need to reassess.
Yeah, I just thought about that as you were talking, is for some of us, as we look at our budgets and our bank statements and things like that, it shows you what I value, or it also can go deeper into if I'm depressed, if I'm having issues, emotional issues, or what am I spending my money on because I'm trying to mask or avoid.
Yeah.
Or so for some people might not want to get into budgeting because it exposes other problems.
Oh yeah, and it will.
Yeah.
It will. It'll show you not what you say is important to you, because we can all say I'm legacy is important to me.
Absolutely.
Wealth is important to me.
Mhm.
All of those things, you can say those things, but your actions will really reveal to you what's really important.
Mhm.
And that can be uncomfortable.
So also when we talk about budgeting and looking at what you're spending, that's when we get into you finding out or seeing that you're living beyond your means, right? So let's talk more about that. So it's easy to look at the rich, all right, or it's so easy to look rich and be broke. So why do you think so many people fall into this trap, and how do we break free from the pressure to keep up?
So you kind of touched on something that is relatively new that is happening: social media. People have to remember these folks on social media, and you see them out every night, and you see them with
Mhm.
the fly gear on. That's not real life,
It's
right?
not every
They're,
day.
they're doing it for the gram. Did I get that one right?
You
Jen?
got that one
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
You got it.
They're doing it for the gram. But people on the other side, they think, okay, this is real life. I can really ball out like this and live a good life. But that is not the truth. So that's part of the reason. And the other reason is, again, going back to what we talked about a moment ago, people are not talking to each other, right? So you just see the outer layer of what's going on. You see them make perhaps with a really, really big house.
Mhm.
You don't know that they're eating beans or to afford that house.
Or how many mortgages
Or
they
how
have
many
on that
mortgages,
house, or,
right.
or how that house is keeping them in debt. Or,
Exactly.
I talk to people, clients all the time about not being house poor,
House poor.
right? I want you to be able to afford this house. So although you might be, I say the same thing to all of my pre-approved clients.
Uh-huh.
You may be a pre-approved for $3, $4, $500,000, but what do you want to spend, and what are you comfortable spending monthly? Because I don't want you to be house poor, because this house is going to still cost you in addition to a mortgage.
That's right. I love this part. Oh, I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited because I do something called Stop the Money Madness Monday Messages.
Nice.
And one of the topics that I broadcast was about you may not be able to afford what you think you can afford. Just because you can squeeze it into your budget does not mean that you can afford it, right?
Mhm.
Using your example of a house. Okay, so you got pre-approved. Pauline Lewis Walker, the underwriter, just approved you for $500,000. That does not mean that you go out and buy a $500,000 house, because guess what? On paper, you can afford it, but you need to heat it, don't you?
Mhm.
You need electricity. It probably comes with an HOA. You have your HOI, your homeowner's insurance policy that you have to do. Then perhaps you bought that really nice house and it's outside of the city limits. So now you're traveling an additional 20 minutes into work. So now you need additional gas. That's additional wear and tear on your car. Now you have to, you see what I'm saying?
And then after a year, the air conditioner goes out.
Now the air
And
conditioner.
now I got a roof. I mean, I have a leak in my roof.
Uh-huh.
And so regular maintenance, right? Yeah.
Right. So those things are other things. And I know you've had these
Yes.
conversations with your clients as well. You have to consider the big picture.
Mhm.
Don't go running with that pre-approval letter going, okay, give me the max.
Mhm.
No, think about everything that goes into home ownership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
And anything that you purchase.
Yeah.
Right, there's
Anything.
always going to be an
Even
additional
with
cost.
a car.
Yes.
I'm just like, I know we all like to drive nice things. I'm a car person. So
Are you?
I love nice cars.
Okay.
But it's got a balance. It's got to be a balance, right? What I can afford something I'm being something nice as well.
Yeah.
And that's for anybody. And the car conversation is a conversation we have with clients all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one thing, and I'm sure as an underwriter or just being in the mortgage industry, the car payments that you see people have, and they're paying $1,000 car payments, and it's stopping you from being able to buy a home.
It is.
So even readjusting or realigning what you're going to spend because of your goals, and whether it be home ownership or whatever, investing or whatever, how to reduce some of that debt or not go out there and get $1,000 car. So just having those conversations, getting a financial coach.
Yes.
Will kind of, I'll promote your services at the end. But I wanted to talk about the emergency fund. I know we kind of just mentioned that in terms of a house, but rainy days happen in our lives, right? So what do you think about like building an emergency fund, how important that is, and why it feels so out of reach for people?
Well, an emergency fund is a safety blanket, right? It allows you to go through your life knowing when those rainy days do come, you have a little bit of a cushion. You have someplace, a soft place to land. That's why it's important. The other thing is, if you don't have the emergency fund, what are you going to rely on when you get in trouble? Give it to me. Credit cards.
Credit cards.
You're gonna, when that furnace goes out, you're gonna charge it.
And if you can't get a credit card, now there's so many high interest rate personal loans out here.
It's
You go
insane.
and get yourself into even more trouble
It's
by
insane.
going to get a personal loan that you can't afford to pay back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So the thing that the emergency fund will do for you will keep you from going backwards. If you set up a plan, met with me, your financial coach, and we have a plan in place. When you fall, that fall will not set you back where you have to start all over again.
Mhm.
That is the benefit of having an emergency fund. Now, what stops folks from getting it is because an emergency fund requires, in my opinion, 3 to 6 months of your monthly outgo. When you think about how much you spend a month, that's not a little bit of money. That's quite a bit of money to come up with. So it's daunting to have to think, okay, I have to put how much away? But if you start where you are, just start where you are. If you can only do $50 a check, do $50 a check. If you can only do $20 a check, do $20 a check. So don't let the fact that you need so much to start deter you from starting at all.
And those people that are living paycheck to paycheck, what is your advice to them on starting an emergency fund, a savings? If I don't have it, what am I to do? That deters a lot of people.
It does.
Because I know I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, or I am living check to check. So how do I start a savings or an emergency fund when I just don't have it?
So there are a number of things that I talk to about this in this area with my clients. There are folks that really just do not make enough money to sustain themselves, right? They really do not.
To live.
This is reality, right? This is the reality. So you need to do a few things. One or all of these things. You need to make more money. Okay, you need to make more money. Now that could look like going and asking for a raise. If you have not had a raise in a while and you are good at your job, don't be afraid to ask. A closed mouth does not get fed. Maybe you won't get a big raise, but you'll get more. That will help. You also need to look at yourself to say, what skill do I have that is marketable? What hobby do I have that I can make a little extra change with, right?
The side hustle.
The side hustle.
The multiple streams of income.
Yes. Yes. But I think people look outside of themselves for that, right? But you can look inward. If you can sew really well, if you can cook, hallelujah, let's bake some cakes.
Absolutely.
If you can bake, whatever you can do, don't think, okay, I'm just good at this. How can you monetize that skill
and make a business out of it?
And make a business out of it and get that additional income coming in. And something that people don't like to think about, maybe you need to get a second job. If you can do it, not everybody can do it because of time constraints. People have children, I understand that. But if you can pick up an extra little side job on the weekends or, once or twice a week after work, do that. Just remember, keep the goal in mind, right? It's not going to be for always. You're not going to always have to do this. But at some point, you may have to step back and say, okay, I need to do something that's painful, not pretty, but it's for my family in the short term. So those are some of the things that I would suggest people do.
So what do you advise people who have lost their job or, changes in income? I know we're encouraging people to go look for more income, but I've lost my job.
Yeah.
Or I've gotten laid off, or they're doing pay cuts, which I don't necessarily hear of more. It's more layoffs.
Yeah.
But, changes in income, how do you get around that?
So much like what we just talked about, the things that I laid out, of course, those are things that you need to think about. But if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I shared with you earlier that I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. So if you are at your 9-to-5 job and there's still things that you can do while you're there, start thinking about those things. Nothing lasts forever.
Say that again. Say that again.
Nothing lasts forever. 30, 40 years ago, listen, if you worked at the post office, at the CTA.
Yep.
You
The
live
railroad. Yep.
you stayed at that job until you to forever.
Yep.
Forever. Those were secure jobs, and that was fantastic. That is not the world we live in any longer, right? People are losing their jobs. Industries are shutting down, whole industries, whole departments.
Right.
We're not going to get political, but
Absolutely.
you know. So you have to prepare yourself before you need to, before those things happen. So that's what I would suggest. And after it's happened, then pivot quickly. Pivot quickly. I know you're mad, and some of these jobs, when they let you go, if you're laid off, they may give you a little package. What can you do with that package? How can you? I got this from TV too. How can you flip that money? I need to stop watching TV.
No, that's good.
But what
that's
can
good.
you do with that money to generate more money?
Right.
So start thinking about these types of things ahead of time, because those days do happen.
We live now in a society that you need multiple streams of income.
Multiple streams.
And I think they're starting to get it now. I think we've watched other people and we've thought, oh, they just got it. Not even, oh, they just have the money, but, oh, they've got this business and they've got this business and they're doing all these things. We now can say serial entrepreneurship or multiple streams of income. But that is, to me, how the wealthy have gotten wealthy and stayed wealthy.
They diversify.
Their funds, their businesses, their things like that. And that actually brings me to, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit, to entrepreneurship. You being a serial entrepreneurship, me being an entrepreneur, and I think you as well, advocating for entrepreneurship, advocating for multiple streams of income. What are your conversations or even coaching to the entrepreneur when we talk about money? I know that's a little twist, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I got you. So this is what I'd like to say to inspiring entrepreneurs. Don't be a punk. Don't be worried about what other people are going to say when you step out there. Because if you have a product or you're offering a service, you may be afraid or a little timid, thinking, okay, what are they going to think? I don't have it perfect. It's not all down pat. My suggestion, or what I encourage them to do, is to just do it. Just start. Everything does not have to be perfect. Everything will never be perfect. But what you have, your idea, do as much research as you can, of course.
Use your resources.
Use your
people around you. Absolutely.
Who you know. But don't get so afraid and so nervous about starting that you don't start. Just start. That is my suggestion. Just start where you are. And I believe that if this is the lane that you should be in, God will raise up and allow you to move forward. And you will be successful.
So in terms of money and entrepreneurship, is that something that you advocate to your clients? Do they have to come to you and say, Pauline, I really wanted to start this business, and you're looking, when you guys are talking about budgeting and a plan, are you looking at ways to kind of build that business into their plan? Okay.
So one of the things that I'm about at Integrity Plus Financial Coaching, it is a holistic approach to finance. So I'm not just, okay, show me what you owe, I'm going to show you how to get it down. It's not that. It is customized to that person. And very often, before I actually start to create a plan for them, we have a conversation. What are your dreams? What are your goals? Where do you want to go? What do you want to leave for your family? And what are your talents? What are you good at? And then after we have that conversation, that allows me to say, oh, you like to do hair? Yeah, look at my hair. It looks so nice. Really, you did your hair? Have you thought about maybe getting your license and doing hair maybe on the side? So I am very much about having a conversation with my clients to help them not just get their finances in order. I will absolutely do that, but I want to open some doors and start some thought processes that they may not have had before.
You're pushing them to think beyond just their everyday and even tap into something that they've maybe have thought about, but I didn't give a lot of thought to it because it was something I never thought I could do.
Right, exactly.
And fear is the biggest constraint to holding us back from starting those not extra business, additional businesses, or just going into something new.
And that fear is real.
Yes.
And analysis paralysis. Have you ever heard of
I
that?
have, but I'll explain it to our audience.
That is when you think something to death.
Yep.
You think about
Overthinking.
it. You overthink it. Okay, you've decided, okay, I can probably.
And you talk yourself out of it.
And you will talk yourself out of it. Oh, and then you'll start to go, oh, that person over there is doing it, and they're doing it better, and they've been doing it longer, and they have the resources. They don't have what you got.
And here's the thing.
I had to say it like that.
They don't have what you got. And like I tell other realtors, competition is a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you are comparing yourself or looking at what they're doing over here, but there is enough for everybody
Come
to
on,
eat, right?
Come on.
There's room for all of us in whatever industry or space there's and what's going to be for you is going to be for you.
Yes.
And nothing beats a fail but a try, right? That's
mm-hmm.
all you can do is try.
That's right.
Right. So
that's right.
I always like to talk about entrepreneurship on the show because I am an entrepreneur. I believe in entrepreneurship. I advocate for people starting businesses and their dreams. And there's a way to do it, right? And it's getting with the right people. It is doing your research. It's talking to people that are doing it already.
Yes.
Getting yourself a mentor. Talking about money, because that's a big thing. People fail in starting a business because they don't have the money management. You don't have the money management on the personal side.
That's right.
So how can I get into business and also have a successful business?
That's right.
And another thing that, and I don't know if you talk to people about this too, is setting up their business.
Yes.
Your tax, how to do your taxes, W-2s if you're going to have employees, things like that. Yep. Those things people don't necessarily talk about.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. And they don't even know that they should have the conversation.
Right.
They don't know that they should have the conversation. That's why when I talk about asking for help, sure, you ask your peers. That's fine. If you see that they're doing well, don't be afraid to go in. Well, how'd you get that? Well, how'd you do that? Don't be afraid to do that.
Yeah.
But seek professional help. Seek out people that do this for a living, that will give you the correct information and give you lots of different avenues to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say one thing, going back to the opening a business that somebody else might have, the competition, your gifts will make room for you.
Amen.
Right? So biblically, we know that we can go out there and doors will open if this is God's will. If this is where we should be, doors will open. Go through them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So let's as we're wrapping up, we've got probably about 10, 15 minutes. I know, and we can still keep going. But so let's get into how turning things around. Was there anything under like the 7 pitfalls or things that you wanted to add in there?
I think we've hit them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about turning things around. So let's flip the script a little bit. So someone listening today recognizes themselves in at least 3 of the things that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they start, and what's step 1 to financial recovery?
You may not believe this, or
I'm
maybe you will.
It.
You know what? I bet you do. I bet you see
this
too. People are afraid to look. They're afraid to look at their credit report.
I just said the mirror. That's to me, that's all of it.
Oh yeah.
Yep. They're afraid to, because it's showing. It's in your face. You can't deny it.
You can't.
You can't.
But if you ask, for your listeners, if you're sitting with someone, ask them if they know, and they don't have to give you the number. Ask them if they know how much debt they're in. Ask them if they know. I mean, an actual dollar, the full dollar amount. Ask them if they know how much they pay out for that debt each and every month. Ask them if they know their current credit score. What? You have to know your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is part of the first step. You have to know where you are. And it can be scary to look, because most folks really do not know. They really do not know how much they're in debt. And they will be surprised when they go and take that look.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step. The second thing you have to do, you have to start a budget. There's no way around it, people. There's no way around it. I'm sorry. The B word is real.
I feel like I should have a little buzzer or a bell every time we say it, but it's legit.
It is true. Yep. It's true. Nobody likes it because it's restricted. They feel that it's restrictive. Now, when you are building a budget, the way that you can make that budget not so painful, first of all, you should automate everything. Automate your payments. Make sure if you have steady income, let me just say that. If you are maybe a gig worker and your income is not steady, I don't want you to get in trouble by automating your payments to your credit cards when the money may not be there. That's not what I'm saying. But if your income is steady, automate all your payments. You don't need to see it, let it go. And not only your payments, but your savings. I am an advocate of multiple savings accounts. In fact, I would ask that you put a savings account in place for all of your goals so that you don't have any of that commingling. You don't have to move any money manually. All that stuff kind of sets you up for failure. So make sure you know your numbers and get a realistic budget. And of course, ask for help if you need it.
I love that. Those are great steps and a great first step. I feel like all of that was kind of wrapped into one.
It was.
Wrapped into one.
I couldn't do just one.
So I know you are known for, helping your clients not just budget but build wealth. So can you walk us through a few key habits or systems that you teach for long-term financial success?
The first thing is really piggybacking off what I just said. You have to get your debt in order. Get it under control. If that means demolishing your debt, I feel like the goal should always be debt reduction. You always want to see if you can't be completely debt free, you need to reduce your debt so that it is not just manageable, but so that it is not negatively impacting your life. People may have debt, but it does not have to be such a burden.
So, because debt is a big issue between credit card debt. I know card payments. To me, everybody for the most part majority of people have a car loan, right? Your mortgage, student loans. So how do you tackle debt? Like when you're sitting down with the client and coming around a plan with debt, what is your strategy?
So I have a couple strategies that I use. The first one is the snowball method that everybody knows about. And that involves taking the smallest debt that you have and throwing all of your extra cash at it until it's paid off. Then you take the money that you were paying on that one and go to the next smallest debt and pay that one off. Just bombard it with all those additional payments until that's paid off. Now, of course, you're still maintaining your other creditors with the minimum payments, but you are throwing all you have, all additional money toward those smaller debts, and you're going this way. So smallest to highest debt until there no more. The other one we have is the kind of the avalanche method. And this is where you look at all of the creditors with your high APRs, right? You want to get rid of those because quite frankly, those are the ones that are costing you the most money, right? You have those creditors that are, 25, 27, 30% interest rate. You want to start doing the same thing you're doing with your snowball method, but you're hitting those ones. You put them in order of APR from lowest to highest, and you start with the highest APR because in the long run, that is going to save you more money. It's a slower process to debt demolition, but it still will get you where you want to go.
I love that. No, and I wanted to ask that question because I get that from buyers that have debt or that want to buy, and we find out that their debt to income ratio is too high, and how they come back and they're like, okay, Jill, how do I tackle this debt? And so giving them those approaches, and that's why I wanted you to share them because that's great. That's great. So for people who feel like they're too far behind financially, what's your message to them?
That it's never too late. It's never too late. And again, not just always picking on your experience, but I know that you've met folks that are 50 years old buying their first home. I'm okay with that. I love it. I'm okay with
Absolutely.
that. I think that's wonderful. It's never too late to get your goals, have your dreams come true. And if you feel one of those folks that all your life you wanted to buy a home, get yourself together financially and buy a home. It's never too late to do it. And you're never in a position where you can't do anything. I firmly believe that everybody can do something. You may not be able to do all the things that we talked about today all at once, but everybody can do something to get on that path.
I love it. You are dropping some major gems today, right? I feel like
I'm so passionate about this.
Buzzer or the bell for budget, we need one for all the gems you are dropping today. So what's one powerful mindset shift you've seen change someone's entire financial trajectory?
They have to step away from hopelessness. And they have to know that if God did it for someone else, they can do it for you too. He is no respecter of persons. So you need to stop being You should stop. And I know it's not easy to do, so I do not say this lightly because people are in despair about their finances. I understand that. But you have to look at a way to feel gratitude for what you do have. And that is the beginning. That set shift is the beginning of getting yourself where you want to be. So be grateful for what you have. Stop thinking that everything is hopeless because, as I mentioned, it's never completely hopeless. And if you operate in gratitude, then you're winning.
And it's never too late.
It's never too late.
I'm like, we've seen people get out of debt or change their circumstances at an older age, at a big age. I love the word big.
Yeah,
age
at the big age, that big age.
But I'm like, yeah, people change their finances and their circumstances at all ages.
Yes.
And no matter where you are, you could be near retirement and still need to make a change, right? But it's just never too late.
I have a client that's about to retire, and when I tell you this woman is fly, she is so fly. When you see her, she's always put together, and it just hit her like, wait a minute, I'm about to retire, and my money is not the way it should be. So what can we do with this pension? Because she wants to travel, she wants to do other things. So she came almost about to retire, and she wants me to sit with her and show her what she needs to do so that she can retire comfortably and with dignity.
Before we get into our rapid fire questions, as we do wrap up the show, because that's a new thing I'm doing, but okay. I love it. I love getting those quick answers. But you just hit on something that I do want to ask. So for those that are in, there's more seasoned age that are getting towards the retirement age. Do you get a lot of retirement clients that come to you?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Not a lot, because I do deal more with people that are mid-age.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm thinking retirement. Even as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking about it now. We have to plan for it because I'm not getting a 401k. So there are other things as an entrepreneur that I can do. But I'm sure you get people coming to you that are nearing retirement and they need to make a plan because what they're going to get on their pension, 401k, or whatever assets or savings and things that they've done still might not be enough to live in today's day. Right. So what's the plan, or what's the conversation?
So the conversation is, first of all, calm down. You're going to be okay, because they start to panic. They look at what they are going to have coming in. They've had that visit with HR, in preparation for retirement, and they're thinking, okay, this is how I live today. I'm certainly not going to be able to live this way on this money. So the conversation, it's different than the folks that are middle age or younger trying to buy a home or just getting started or going to the next level. We start to talk about, okay, tell me how you want to live. How do you see your retirement? Do you want to pay your house off? Is that a goal before you retire? A lot of people want to do that, and that makes sense to me, right? You want to be mortgage free going into retirement. So let's work on that. If you want to not work at all, okay, what does that look like? Let's go from that aspect. Do you want to maybe get a part-time job? Is that because a lot of retirees like to do a part-time job? Okay, let's look how that looks in comparison to your Social Security, because we don't want you to get penalized. Right. So there are different levels that we discuss based on their goals and how they see their retirement.
Okay, I have a soft spot for the younger generation, and I think about the older, my mom's generation, or even that generation above her, because people are living longer.
That's right.
And so they're retiring later, or even those that are retiring earlier and starting a second chapter, but still this conversation is important to them as well.
It is. And I want to just make the distinction between financial coaching, which is what I do, and financial advisors.
Right.
So financial coaches deal with the behavior of the person, of the individual, how you interact with your money. A financial advisor works with the behavior of the money, right? Where you should put the money for the most growth. So I wanted to make that distinction because I want to say that a financial coach and a financial advisor go hand in hand, particularly when we're talking about investments and getting them to the next level. So I will work with the client to get them where they need to be financially, where their savings and their credit is good. But then when they're in the right position, then they're ready to transition to investing that money that they've now saved.
I was just going to ask you, do you advise people to have both? But Absolutely. You're saying, and not in tandem, or get one after the other. Get yourself straight and then go get a financial advisor. Okay.
That is my suggestion, that you work with a financial coach if you need to. And then after you are where you want to be financially, but you're ready to grow your money, then you work with an advisor.
I love that. I love that. So we're gonna
licensed advisor.
a license. Yeah, I was gonna say definitely licensed certified advisor, right? So we're gonna get into some rapid fire questions. This is just a
Let's
few
do it.
fun,
Let's do it.
informative questions in our show on a high note. So Cash App or Zelle or credit card? Which one do you prefer? Or which one would you advise?
It depends.
Okay.
So if you are out with your girls and you're having lunch and you want to pay for the lunch, Cash App Zelle is fine.
Okay.
If you purchase something like a TV or something that should or can come with a warranty and that can break, I would suggest you use your credit card because your credit card will offer certain protections that obviously cash would not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good one. Because Zelle and Cash App,
once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone. It's gone. That's right. Because they
Right.
will not send it back. So one money book that changed your life.
The Terry Savage. The listeners may not be as old as I am, but she used to be a financial pundit at CBS, and she wrote several books. And it was, I believe, the book that I like was called "The Savage Money," being savage. Wait, mastering money savagely, or something like that.
Okay.
I'll put it in we can drop it in your
Mhm.
but it was Terry Savage, one of her early books. She wrote it in the 90s. I don't even know if it's still in publication, but it was game changer. It was a game changer for me.
Nice. Okay.
And she has a number of books.
The name is familiar.
Terry Savage, check her out.
We'll drop that in the comments on the post of the replay of the video.
Good.
So I kind of know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So save first or invest first?
Save first.
But there's got to be a but to that.
If you already have savings, that is the but. If you are already, if you already have your savings in place, your nest egg, your emergency fund, and you're ready to go, then go right to investing.
Okay.
But do the investment, the savings first.
Got it. Okay. I respect it. So if you could go back, and this is kind of going back to our icebreaker question, but if you could go back. Not at all. If you could go back and give your 25-year-old self one financial tip, what would it be?
Invest early. Invest early. I didn't realize the importance of investing until I was in my early 30s. Even after I taught myself all of these great money lessons, I didn't realize that the earlier you start to invest, the better you set yourself up for a wonderful financial future. The way to start investing when you're a baby investor is with that 401k. You talked about that. And by the way, for us, we can do the Keogh. Yep. So if your company has a 401k, they will match it most times from 4 to 6% of your salary. Let's do it. Now, if you can't or don't want to do 4%, cool. Don't do it. But do something. That might be, we need a bell for that.
Absolutely,
too.
Yeah.
Do something. Put something in that, and your company will match that. That's free money. Everybody likes free. So it's free money. Do that immediately. If you're working at Starbucks or wherever you start, if they have a 401k, you get in that 401k. And as your career grows, you increase the amount that you deposit little by little.
And I'm going to piggyback off of that. Invest in real estate. It's a shameless plug.
It is, but true.
It is. Invest in real estate because I know you have investment properties, right?
I did.
So, and we didn't touch on that. So we're probably going to have Pauline back on the show and talk about some of her investments because you really didn't get into your serial entrepreneurship and the things that you have going on. If you're comfortable sharing with people,
I don't mind.
Okay, so we'll save that for a later show. But invest in real estate. I've seen several people. I've had buyers. Just last year, I sold a young man who's 25 in the military. He bought a building, a 3-flat.
Oh, I love it.
And he lives in one house hacking. He lives in one unit and he rents out the other two. The other 2 units pay for his mortgage.
That's beautiful.
So, setting up at 25 and that was his first start. And he's already contacted me because he's looking to buy another one.
I love it.
Pull out the equity in that building and go buy another one. So I'd say invest in real estate. So that's just my
I
shameless plug there.
I agree. And get with someone that you can partner with and someone that is not just chasing the check.
Correct.
Like our girl Jill.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So last question, financial freedom feels like? Fill that in.
It feels like peace and joy, being able to live your life, bless the folks you want to bless, spend time with the people you want to bless without the burden of worrying about money.
I love that. Peace is so important, and finances will keep you up at night.
It will.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good,
For sure.
a good way to finish that statement. So Pauline, tell people where they can find you, your website, social media, talk about, your business, the coaching program, or any upcoming events that you have.
So Integrity Plus Financial Coaching, that's the name of my company, and that's how you can find me on all social media platforms. integrityplusfinancialcoaching.com is my website. Go ahead and go out there. If you need to contact me, you can contact me at contact@Integrity Plus Financial Coaching. See, this is not hard, folks. And I offer a package that includes a 3-month stint of coaching. You can do it a la carte. If you need to just meet with me one time, that's fine. If you need me to come out and do a speaking engagement for you, I do that, as well as training. In fact, I've just partnered with Care Chicago, which is one of the folks that partnered with CPS in order to do some of that financial literacy training that we talked about. So I will be officially going out. My goodness, when I tell you I had to give almost a blood sample to work with CPS, but I'm all clear.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they take
clear.
you through the ringer.
They do
before you start working with them, but it's worth it.
It's absolutely worth it. So I will be going out and talking to the littles about financial literacy. I'm really excited about that. I start in a few weeks. Now that I'm done with the background test or tracking process. Right? Yep. Mm-hmm. So if you need to reach me, you can contact me on any of those platforms, and I would be happy to work with you. And you decide what we will work on. Again, it is an individualized approach to finances. It is not cookie cutter. We get to know you. It is a holistic conversation and a holistic plan that I work with my customers.
Thank you. I love that. And then I also want to ask, she didn't go back to her book, but please go get her book. Your Path to Better Finances. Like I said, we'll put the link to order it in the replay for the video. So please support her by grabbing this book.
Yep, it's on Amazon and on my website.
Absolutely. I'm sure it has a lot more. It goes into more detail of what we talked about today. Absolutely. So please support her. Pauline, thank you so much for joining me today.
Much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Your insight on money mindset, financial literacy, building wealth was truly powerful. So I know our listeners are leaving today with real tools and motivation to start making better money moves and building their legacy. To everyone tuning in, remember, it's never too late to shift your mindset, fix your finances, and create real wealth. Whether it's credit, debt, business funding, or real estate, I'm here to help you make it happen. Pauline's here to help you make it happen. Yes. Call or text me at 630-364-0321 or connect with me on social media at Your Homegirl Jillian to get started. Whether it's real estate, I can also help with debt help and credit repair, business credit, business funding. I can assist with those things, and I can also refer you to Pauline as well. And if you're ready to buy or sell or invest, let's make your next move your best move. If you missed today's show, you can catch the replay anytime on intellectualradio.com's YouTube channel, iHeartRadio, or my social media platforms. Thank you for tuning in to the Inner Circle podcast, where real estate meets real life and real talk. I am your host, your homegirl Jillian. Until next time, stay focused, stay inspired, and keep building.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed that so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That was a great conversation.
Yes. Oh, that was fun.
Thank you. Absolutely. All right.
So good.
Did we have some comments or questions?
Not questions, but comments on YouTube. Jaquan Donald said, "Hi, sister friend." Kenya Parker said, "Love what was just said. Changing your perspective and mindset about money. Recovering from money trauma." Melinda Patterson, "Mrs. Lewis Walker is awesome. She's a wealth of information and insight on finances." Jaquan Donald, "Yes, your gifts will make room for you." Antoine Wright, "This is great info. When it comes to budgeting, just do it with care and don't purchase things that aren't necessary to have. You can get it later."
Yep.
I don't know. This is somebody's initials. Peace. They said this was beautiful.
Great. So
I love it. I love it.
So good. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming.
I love what you're doing here. You are blessing so many people.
Thank
this
you.
is so good.
Thank you. No, the information was amazing. You had me. I was thinking about myself, and I'm like, Jill, concentrate on the show.
I do the same thing almost.
Oh,
I said I'm not gonna say nothing today. I get Indianapolis and say yes. When they got me with those credit cards.
Yes,
Oh,
girl.
She always, absolutely.
Don't do it.
I was like,
Walk
don't do
past
it.
those
Walk past
tables.
those tables.
Walk past those tables. Yeah.
Because they're out there.
But
They are
now
out
Dylan
there.
has got me also talking to them about making, because you've made a lot of connections through college. That got you when
Absolutely.
you started investing.
Yes.
Getting their mindset
Yep.
to thinking past this.
That's
time
right.
frame,
Yep.
Paying for it with school. Just totally great show.
Good,
I'm gonna
good.
share it with my kids as I
Good.
do all the
Please.
shows. that
Please.
I touch on things I want them to know.
Are you on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the? I
Integrity
don't think
plus
that.
financial
Okay, it is integrity. There it is. Okay. Tag you in that. I have to do this, else I'll lose the show. If I don't do it, I've learned on Instagram.
Oh wow.
Because it does, when you do it live,
Uh-huh.
unless you post it, it will lose it. And so I'm
Huh.
yep. So it's the whole thing. Okay, perfect. I think we're good to go. I can go back and change it. So it's shared. I tagged you in it. And on Facebook, I'll go back and tag you
Okay.
in it as well.